Not all Exiled perks are created equally. Some can completely change the way you play, while others might just hold you back. In today's video, we're ranking every Exiled perk from the best to the worst, so you can make sure you're picking the right ones for your playstyle and dominating the game. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned player, this tier list will help you make the smartest choices when it comes to your perks. But before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that like button if you want more tier lists and guides like this, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. It really helps out and keeps the videos coming your way. Now, let's jump right into it. Alright, let's kick things off with D tier Exiled perks. These are perks that may seem useful at first, but quickly become less effective as you progress. Value Inspection. This perk lets you see the self-value of items, which is definitely handy when you're just starting out in Exiled. It's a solid way to get the most out of your items early on, but once you've memorized the values, it pretty much becomes pointless. So, it's a short-term perk that loses its value as you advance. Fuel Inspection. Pretty much the same story as Value Inspection. Fuel Inspection lets you see the fuel values of all items, which can help when you're just getting your bearings, but after a while, you'll hardly ever need it. Once you know the basics, this perk just doesn't add enough to your gameplay. Wagon Sense. Honestly, there's not much to say here, you just avoid it. This perk lets you detect if the wagon is moving, but unless you're playing with randoms who might troll you, it's not something that's going to make a big impact. If the wagon's moving, chances are, you'll already be on it, so it's just extra clutter for your perk choices. So yeah, these perks are definitely on the weaker side of things. If you're looking to make solid progress in the game, you'll probably want to skip them. Let's move on to the next tier. Now, moving on to C tier Exiled perks. These are perks that have their uses but are generally less impactful or situational compared to higher tier perks. Hero. The hero perk can be really helpful in specific situations, especially in multiplayer runs. If two players die in the same dungeon, being able to revive them both can be a game changer. However, in solo or duo runs, this perk is pretty useless. You can always go back for the other player, but it'll just take extra time. In Exiled, time doesn't cost you anything as long as you're not rushing through, so while this perk isn't bad, it's more of a luxury than a must-have. Adrenaline Rush. This perk activates a speed boost when you get hit, which sounds great in theory. However, your goal is to avoid getting hit in the first place, and if you're playing well, this perk is rarely going to come into play. You could go the entire run without using it. It's decent in certain situations, but it's not nearly as universally useful as something like Revive, which is always there when you need it. Endurance Training. Increasing your max sprint distance is a nice bonus, but it's not a game changer. It's a great perk if you're just looking to fill up that extra slot, especially if you're not running with barter. It's useful, but not essential. More of a filler perk than a key component of your loadout. Iron Skin. This perk is fantastic for beginners, as it helps reduce damage and add some survivability. However, once you're more experienced, you'll find that it doesn't hold up as well. The damage reduction is nice, but it's not a perk that scales well with advanced playstyles, so it loses its value as you progress. These perks are solid, but they're often overshadowed by others that offer more consistent or impactful benefits. Let's move on to the next tier. Now, let's talk about B tier Exiled perks. These perks are definitely more useful than those in C tier, offering solid benefits without being overpowered. Deft Hands. This perk lets you get 2 items from the lucky bag, which sounds great on paper. However, you can't choose the items, so it's usually just extra potions or some fuel, gold early on. It's useful for getting a bit more early game resources, but in the long run, it doesn't provide that big of a boost to your gameplay. Still, it's a solid pick if you're looking for a little extra help in the beginning. Supply and Demand. Being able to re-roll merchant items twice can really be a lifesaver, especially when you're desperately searching for essential items like revive or health potions. It's not always necessary, but in those clutch moments, it can completely save a run. It's a bit situational, but when it works really well, which is boon. This perk increases the effectiveness of your potions, which doesn't sound like much, but it can really shine in certain scenarios. For example, your invisibility potion lasts longer, giving you extra time to scout dungeons or avoid danger. While not a huge power-up, this extra boost can make all of the difference in tough situations. It's a good perk to have, especially if you rely on potions for survival or exploration. These perks aren't game-breaking, but they provide solid utility in a variety of situations. Definitely worth considering if you're building a well-rounded setup. Let's move on to A tier. Exiled perks. These perks are powerful and can make a big difference in your runs, though they're not quite on the level of S tier. Still, they're essential to a lot of successful strategies. Barter. Barter is easily one of the most cost-effective perks for the one-slot requirement, especially when you consider the 20% discount on all items from the merchant. While it might not seem like much, that discount adds up quickly. For example, with barter, you're getting a 15 gold discount on magic wood and crystals for fuel, or a 10 gold discount on each revive book. Over time, these small savings can really stack up, making barter an excellent choice for maximizing your resources. Golden Tongue. Golden Tongue works incredibly well with barter as 2-slot perk, but even on its own, it's a fantastic addition. This perk gives you 50% more gold from every item you sell, which can make a huge difference in your economy. The extra gold can help you stock up on crucial items like revives, health potions, and magic wood, crystals. It's a great way to make sure you're always prepared for whatever the dungeon throws at you. Both of these perks focus on increasing your resources in subtle but impactful ways, making them top-tier picks for anyone looking to optimize their runs. Let's move on to S tier next. Before we jump into S tier, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next because the S tier perks are game changers that can completely flip the script on your Exiled runs. So, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into the absolute best perks in Exiled. Now we're getting to the good stuff of S tier Exiled perks. These perks are the cream of the crop, offering game-changing abilities that can completely turn the tide of your runs. Reincarnation. With the recent buff that made it only 2 slots, Reincarnation is hands down the best perk you can have. The ability to get a free revive means you're saving 50 gold each run that you can use for other essential items. On top of that, this perk lets you pull off some clutch plays. If you die in a dungeon, you can still save your teammates. It's especially invaluable in solo runs, where you can't rely on revive books to get yourself back in the game. Reincarnation ensures you have a safety net in nearly every situation. Lurker. The Lurker perk is an absolute must-have against monsters. When you crouch, you can easily hide from enemies, and with its durability bar, you can't spam it endlessly, but it's great for getting out of tight spots. Don't waste it on weaker monsters like stone golems or bats. Save it for the big threats, like stalkers and flesh hunters, where this perk really shines. It's a massive game changer when you need to escape or plan your next move. Spiritual Sense. This perk is a huge advantage, especially when you're trying to scout out rooms or avoid tough enemies. Spiritual Sense lets you sense monsters through walls or doors, allowing you to spot stalkers or flesh eaters before they even see you. This gives you the chance to either prepare a strategy with your team or simply avoid dangerous rooms altogether. It's a great tool for both solo and group runs, giving you the upper hand before you even step into a room. Fueling Specialist. If you're running with a group, this perk is a must-have. It increases the fuel you get from items, meaning fewer items are needed for fuel, and you can spend more gold in the shop. When you're playing with a large party, only one person needs this perk, and they should be the one managing the fuel. It's a simple but essential perk for ensuring your group has the resources to make it through the dungeon without running out of fuel. These S tier perks are essential for anyone looking to dominate Exiled. They can make the difference between a successful run and a complete failure, so be sure to keep them in your loadout. And with that, we've covered all the tiers. Let me know what you think. Did your favorite perks make the cut? And there you have it, folks, the complete Exiled perks tier list. Whether you're stacking up on resources, dodging monsters, or making clutch saves, these perks can seriously impact your run. Make sure to keep the S tier perks in your arsenal for the best chances of success, and be mindful of the lower tier ones to avoid wasting valuable slots. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tier lists, guides, and all things Exiled. Your support means a lot and helps keep the content coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.